All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Good evening. It's the 1st of December, Christmas month. Can't believe 2022 has already just about left us. So we've got 2 more meetings, including this one in the calendar year of 2022. So thank you for attending. As we enter our moment of silent reflection this evening, it's been a tough week around here. Sunday morning we had a tragic fire in the city of Buckhannon on Buckhannon Street, and there were 3 dogs that did not make it out of that house alive. We all know how folks are tied to pets, but and more so one of the main residents of that home was rescued by our very own Joey Baxa, and she wound up at St. Joseph's Hospital and then to West Penn Burn Center. I did speak with her daughter, whom I graduated from high school with today, about her condition, and she is it's going to be a long road. But Joey saved her life. Joey also spent some time at St. Joseph's Hospital. He's been released. He's doing okay. But we need to keep the Selena Lamb family in our prayers, as well as our firefighters who see the worst of the worst, and particularly Captain Joey Baxa. So as we enter our moment of silent reflection, I would encourage that we remember those folks in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let's see. Sadie, good evening. Welcome. Are you ready for finals?
Yeah, so I have a list of stuff. It's not too much information, but too much for me to remember, so bear with me. We have a 1940s Christmas Carol, which runs December 1st through the 3rd at 8 p.m., and a December 3rd matinee at 2 p.m. All performances are at the Colonial Arts Center, and I might have mentioned this at the last meeting. There's also a jazz ensemble on December 3rd at 7:30 in the PAC. There will be a festival of lessons and carols on Sunday, December 4th at 4 p.m. in Wesley Chapel. And we'll be serving a Christmas holiday dinner, which will be held in our dining hall on December 4th from 4:30 until 7 p.m. The cost is $12 per person, and it is open to the public if anyone would like to come for a good meal. For some service events, there are currently 7 students giving about 5 to 6 hours a week to city entities through the Wesleyan Service Scholar Program. Haley Birmingham and Skylar Ketchum are with the Buckhannon Fire Department. Megan McMacken is with the Buckhannon Police Department. Michael Drury, Sam Hogue, Roman Moore, and Gabe Reynolds are all serving at Stockert Youth and Community Center. And there's an additional student, Samara Kaufman, working with the WAMSB committee. On November 5th, over 60 Boy Scouts visited campus to earn merit badges. College representatives offered badges in programming, game design, electronics, and citizenship and society. Steve Wyckoff from the Upshur County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management also offered an emergency preparedness badge. 2 Wesleyan students helped hand out flags for Create the Cannon at the Veterans Parade, and they also distributed cards written by college students to veterans in the parade and lining the streets. November was Diabetes Awareness Month, so the We Lead Invisible Illness team dedicated their time to educating the campus about diabetes and handed out awareness ribbons for people to show their support. Athletes from the baseball team cleaned out a garage full of books and delivered them to Lawrence Church in preparation for Literacy Volunteers annual book sale. And now that the sale's over, more students are preparing to go package those books and put them back into storage. On Giving Tuesday, Wesleyan students packaged 220 holiday treat bags for students enrolled in Head Start. They also wrote cards to 45 West Virginia hospice patients and 70 Meals on Wheels recipients. Steve Wyckoff also held a Narcan training on campus with students on November 16th. This certification training was part of a class presentation led by Patrolman Dylan Major from the BPD, who was enrolled as a Wesleyan student. So on Student Senate, we have executive elections that happen in the mid-year, and I'm currently running for president. So should I win, there'll be a new student representative here for these community meetings. So Lisa Lively and I will keep you all up to date for those. On behalf of the college, we all wish you all a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and a safe holiday. And thank you for letting me attend these meetings.
Thank you.
Sadie, I just want to point out, in case folks missed it, again, the holiday meal at the college is open to
Yes, it's the Christmas holiday
the
dinner.
community.
Yes,
Right.
yes. It's $12 per person. It's from 4:30 to 7 on December 4th.
Do you know the menu?
I don't know, but I'm sure it'll be good.
And thank you for coming here.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
And you have a Merry Christmas and New Year also.
Thank you.
Sadie, it will have Caesar salad, spinach salad with dried cranberries and feta, herb, crusted roast beef. I could go on, but anyway, I'm on it. So I'll see you when.
Are you cooking?
Good.
No, I'm not cooking. I mean, I was there for the Thanksgiving buffet. It was absolutely delicious.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of community members there enjoying it as well. So I would recommend, just another great way to have a partnership with Wesleyan College
For sure.
and enjoy what that institution brings to the community.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Good luck
thank
with the
you.
campaign.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good luck with finals, campaign, and have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sadie.
Okay, everybody that has signed in has circled no to address council. Is that accurate?
I could just give you copies of something if you want.
Okay.
That's all.
Can't you talk about it?
Just gonna kind of give you an update. Here, I'll just send those around. Okay, Dave. That's right, because you won't be seeing them, sorry.
Exactly.
What you're receiving are, and actually I just got one 5 minutes ago before I walked in here, another car coming from Columbus. These are ones, we've not really even solicited cars yet, but you can see it's pretty creative when you get into the arts situation, in which we've got a lot going on in town. So we're really excited. The banana car you see there just came in. So we have folks already from Houston, Texas, Kansas, Columbus, Michigan, and I'm aware of some from Mississippi, Florida, and some other states as well. And like I said, we haven't even tried soliciting, so we're excited. We did do a press conference today at Fred Everly. We turned over the keys to a 2004 Chevy Trailblazer that we purchased, the Barbecue Bash purchased, and the kids are very excited. I think some of you know Zayd Woody, Samantha Woody's son. He actually spoke. He'll be on WBOY probably tonight too. So they are very excited about creating and designing an art car for the Barbecue Bash that we'll probably use in other events. And we appreciate Buckhannon was there, record dealt in WBOY for, you'll see some information coming out. But just want to give you an update so you see what is happening. We're getting folks, most of these people have never been to West Virginia, so it's kind of a neat thing. We anticipate maybe 10 or 15 different states to be represented in cars. And like I said, I just got another one a few minutes ago as I came in. And they're telling other people about it, which is really great. The folks from Kansas are real excited. So just thank you for your support.
What's the date on it again?
June 16th and 17th of 2023.
2023, almost having barbecue bash.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks.
Thanks, Jody.
Thanks, Jody. Have a good Christmas.
You too. Thank you.
All right, department and board reports. We will begin with Mr. Jerry Arnold, who is joining us via the TV screen this evening. Jerry, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Here for this long-winded report.
Oh, boy.
You're
I
teasing.
have nothing to do to report, Mayor. It's, we're working on the same projects, and I'll have a project update at the next meeting. But unless there's questions, that's really all I have.
You're making a lot of progress with the demos on the sidewalks. That is an outside contractor, correct?
Yes, on Florida Street, that's an on-site contractor.
And then-
we're also, the pouring those sidewalks back, we're going to enlist the help of another contractor on that project.
That program's working out well.
Very well, yes, sir.
Christmas decorations look nice downtown, and so do the poles coming in from the West Main Street exit. I have had several folks comment about that, so thanks to the street department for their work on dressing us up nicely for Christmas.
We continue to hang banners out there too. We just got them in yesterday, I believe, and they started putting the banners and the pole brackets up today for the seasonal banners. So they should have those completed tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And speaking of Christmas,
Thank
we have the Christmas parade tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock.
And we have the West Virginia Dickens Christmas Festival and Fair this weekend. Santa meets is it the Grinch coming up in another week?
The 10th,
So,
yeah, next Saturday.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jerry.
Have a good evening. Yes, sir.
Finance Director Ann Barrell. Well, you're bringing us your name tag. Thank you so much. You make Randy proud.
And I have an official title there.
That's great.
Okay, in your packets, mine got a little late, so it's just a loose paper, probably clear in the back of the
Very
folder.
back.
I kind of had it sticking out so you can see it. So I'm going to give you your balances for November 30th. However, on general funds, we just finished up paying posting invoices late this afternoon that are dated November, so that'll be on your next report. So the balance here is not quite accurate until I get those numbers. General fund money market and checking, $732,000, and the CD remains at $86,000. Historic landmarks, $3,027. Stockert Youth Center capital campaign is now at $439,000 with the $12,000 pledge is $251,000. Coal tax $59,941. Municipal stabilization $915,000. Flood control $78,000. Consolidated public works $91,000. And the cemetery CD remains at $235,000. Sales tax $2,078,842. And the American Rescue Plan account is at $2,036,000. I worked on the West Virginia Home Rule Report, and you'll see that in your packet. It had to be submitted by today. The highlights for that report, I talked about the abatement of nuisance properties. That was one of the planks in the Home Rule report. 2 properties that we purchased last year for tax sale, or the year before last. Actually, we mitigated them this year. We had 1 successful auction, and we demolished the very poor condition building that was on the other lot. And so we'll eventually put that back on the market for auction too. But we've got some properties will probably be coming up next year on a tax sale, so we'll probably put them all together. Several items I reported on were concerning sales tax and use of that money, which was purchase of fire truck, cruisers, street projects, wheel loader, phone system for the street department, Stockert Youth Center bus, and a concrete truck. And that was just kind of the major one. There was several other smaller items we dealt with. That report was submitted to the West Virginia Home Rule Board, and in turn they'll report that to the Joint Committee of Government and Finance for their review. Other things for the past week, staff in City Hall, Stockert, and Colonial attended training sessions for expanded use of software that will track program activities and accept payments for the theater, parks, and youth centers, some of those things that we've got going on there. We received the approved tariff back from the Public Service Commission for the garbage increase. That those notices were set out to all the customers. It's a 5.34% increase, and that will be effective January 1st. In your invoices, you'll see bills there attached to approve. RD Energy concrete for the garage bays down at the safety complex, $2,334. Whitmer Public Safety Group annual, I'm probably going to butcher this.
Self-contained breathing apparatus.
There we go. It said
SCBA.
Yeah, there we go. That was $3,184. Jason Skidmore, demo of concrete there was $1,200. Scott Electric wire for Madison Street lot, $5,125. Foster Supply, drop inlets at Madison Street, $3,738. Ruffy Trucking, stone for mixing concrete was $2,600. And concrete for Florida Street, $1,337. RD Energy again for concrete at Friendly Way, $4,286. And again, Jason Skidmore for demolition of sidewalk at Florida Street, $15,500. And Roselle Enterprises work on the theater, $17,000. Mountain State Electric, 2 larger bills for the generator project, $21,000 and $20,000. And I believe that's all I have in this report.
Any questions or comments for Amy?
Amby, can you bring us any updates relative to the financing for Stockard?
Yes, I'm actually have scheduled a conversation with USDA for tomorrow, and I believe the mayor may attend that, maybe Randy. Tom Amon, I think, is going to attend it. Tom O'Neill, he's got another thing scheduled, but this is just the beginning process to get a letter from them to begin the process for see what they can give us for financing rates.
Okay.
Our plans are to solicit both them and the local banks to get some competitive rates.
Am I correct in surmising that we will be using outside counsel, bond counsel,
Yes.
to help us with this?
Yes. In fact,
Step 2 and draw. Well, that's when I'll talk about that during my.
yeah.
And there'll be a forthcoming resolution approving hiring of special
I'll
counsel.
discuss all that. in
Yeah,
a moment.
Tom's got that. That's his thing.
Any other questions for Amby?
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amby.
You're not.
I got mine.
Got trained, man.
For those of you who don't know me, I gotta put my glasses on now.
Oh, this is
I'm getting
great.
older here.
This is fun to watch.
Over the years, I've had to start doing this, so you know how that works. Good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. It's been about a month or so since I was here. The last month, we had a problem in the family, an illness, and so I wasn't here, and I think the mayor took care of me for that meeting. But anyhow, I'm here tonight. I want to remind everybody, you all did not receive an activity year to date. My IT guy was off injured, and I think tonight I wanted to focus more on the incidents that we've had in the last couple weeks and what our organization has provided for our community, and going down the road some things that we really need to think about. So to start this off, our Christmas parade is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Lineup is 5-ish, people can show up. We want to remind everybody there is a lot of maintenance going on Madison Street to really stay on the streets because it is kind of muddy down there. Jerry and I spoke about that today. And if lineup becomes a problem, it sounds like we're going to have a fairly large parade. We use the KISS method in the fire service, keep it simple, and this is for the kids. Everybody wants to know what we're focusing on. It's all about the kids. Every time we have a Christmas parade and you go to the firehouse and you watch the kids come in and see Santa, that's what the Christmas spirit's about. It's not about me, it's not about any, it's about the kids. So we try to trend on that all the time. So another event on December 10th at 6 o'clock at the Buckhannon Fire Department is our Christmas dinner, and I'm cordially inviting all of council, the mayor, to that. So it's always some good food. We deep fry some turkeys safely, and so how that goes. So we got to be careful of that, but we always have some good food and good times and good camaraderie at the firehouse. Last week I sent some pictures to Mr. Sanders of the fitness room at the firehouse. It's in the bay. We are ready to start establishing that as a fitness wellness center for city employees. We discussed that last budget year. There's all kinds of fitness equipment there, from treadmills to row machines to stair climbers to bikes to just general fitness and weight balls and kettlebells and ropes. And we also have employees that are well versed in physical fitness. So we can be of help if somebody doesn't really know how to come down. We don't want to hurt anybody. We want people to be healthy. And also, this was a venture to create camaraderie among departments. So when street department or water department employees come to the firehouse, there's always discussion. There may be a cup of coffee, and everybody, it's camaraderie among departments. So it's a win-win for everybody. We create healthy culture in our departments. Plus, we create a healthy communication line between our departments. So that's the big thing. So moving on, one more thing. We're at 7 months right now from our ISO evaluation. We have not heard anything. One of the departments that was evaluated the same time we were in this county received theirs two weeks ago. So at the point in time we got evaluated, the evaluator explained if it takes longer, don't be worried, because that's generally a good thing. So we're just, maybe we'll get a Christmas present here before long from ISO. Just waiting to see.
Before we jump into the next part, I will confirm that Madison Street will be open for your lineup.
Yes, and I spoke to the water department, and I spoke to Jerry.
Right.
Bearing any disaster with them, it should be open. There might be some crossover metal or something, but it is going to be muddy on both sides of that street. So we need to really keep people from, if they fall in the mud and get hurt, we don't want that. Plus, that whole Madison where the bank was is a muddy mess right now.
Yeah, I had sent out a news release earlier today about the street closure for today and tomorrow, and that prompted some concern over the parade lineup.
Yeah,
they should be out of there.
Yeah,
Again,
I spoke with Jerry Walmsley from the water department, and I think everything will be fine. It's like I told Jerry Arnold, if something happens, we can put the lineup up towards the post office and utilize Jawbone area for additional parking. So, yeah. Moving on. So the Buckhannon Fire Department, over the last couple weeks, at one point in time, we had 6 structure fires in 11 days. That's very busy for this time of year. Now, some of those fires, 2 of them were in other counties. That being said, we are responding staffing to other counties for assistance, because they're all in the same boat as everybody else with the lack of staffing, whether it be volunteer or career. We were in Barber County for one fire, we were in Randolph County for one fire, but also on the turnaround, the majority of the fires we have here, we have Lewis County and Randolph County here to assist us. And that's the trend now. Smaller municipalities are relying on other smaller municipalities to provide service. The only difficult part of that is the timeline. So all of council and the county commission received an email from Mayor Skinner in reference to this incident on Buckhannon Street. And I want you all to realize everything that he was saying in that is from a visual aspect that he gets, because he was there within the first 10 minutes of that fire. And I think a lot of times people sit back and they hear stuff, but they don't see it. And until you see what happened at that fire, the dedication of your fire department is amazing. The training, the teamwork came about at that fire. And to say that, if we wouldn't have been at shift change and that had been a 3-person crew, we'd be having a whole different discussion right now. So we had 6 people in that firehouse at that time when that call came in. And 4 went in the engine, 2 went in the ladder, and then I arrived. And it was on Sunday morning. And without those extra people, I got a timeline here, it's all in your packet. From arriving on scene within 4 minutes, and this is a fire term, Division 1, which is the first floor of the house, Division 1 was completely searched within 4 minutes. Now, I don't know if any of you all saw the pictures of that house. It was burned bad. So, knowing that, the 2-person team, so you had 4 people on the initial engine. You had an engine operator who had to provide them water. You had a firefighter on a hose line to try to subdue the fire enough to get the 2 additional firefighters in to search and rescue. Okay, so without that 4th person, that person searching would have been by themselves. So this initial search, the primary search of Division 1, would have took a lot longer. And it would have took a lot longer to get Division 2 to Division 2 because that's where the victim was. So you delay that any longer than that, and we'd be having a whole different discussion. So when you look, within 13 minutes of the call coming to the comm center, it took us a little over 4 minutes to get on the scene. Within 9 minutes, the victim was on the porch of that house because of what we had there at that time. And the mayor sent out an email in reference to, we've been talking back and forth with other agencies and other entities and other government agencies about the need for additional people, whether it be volunteer or career. And we have tried recruiting, we've tried retention. The Buckhannon Fire Department has not received an application for volunteer fire department for 2 years. We have attempted to get live-ins, which saves college students $12,000 a year at Wesleyan. And we're in fear that this is kind of a culture, a generational gap, that people are not into volunteering anymore. And it doesn't matter whether it's with the church, whether it's with the Lions Club, or whether it's with the fire department. The fire department is unique because you can't just join the organization and go to a fire. You have to take a minimum of 150 hours of classes. So the 11 volunteers that we have right now, we have 10 career staff positions, and we have 11 volunteers. Those 11 volunteers are so dedicated to our community. They committed over 6,000 hours of station coverage and training hours last year to the Buckhannon community. That is huge. So to put that into perspective, the other night we had 13 members of our fire department there. There was 8 people from the fire department. For whatever reason, whether they was out of town, whatever, they were not there. So going down this timeline, by the end of the total, so we went to a second alarm on a residential fire, which includes Weston, Elkins, Warren District, Washington District, Adrian Fire Department, and Upshur County EMS, and everything's written in here. With the accreditation process, we do an incident review and an after-action review. So everything's in writing, and Randy and the mayor attended our hot wash, which happens after every major incident. And it's a way for everybody to sit down after a call and talk about what went right and what went wrong. And in every form that I wrote up after fires, the initial staffing is a major concern every time. So when you go down through this, NFPA 1720 is the standard for volunteer and combination fire departments, which is what we are considered. To get to the 15 people that it takes to do the critical parts of fighting fire was 23 minutes at this incident. The national standard is 9 minutes for 15 people. So we're still way behind. So I want to commend the men and women that was on that scene the other night, because it wasn't just the initial crew, it was the crews that come in behind them from our department in the next couple minutes, and it just rolled like a team. And that's what we're having to do. But we got lucky. Captain Baxa got injured. Firefighter First Class John Brignoli got injured. Steve Michaels, firefighter First Class, got injured. And we had a firefighter twist his ankle. This was a high intensity operation, and it happened fast. And I think until you've been there in that first 5 or 10 minutes, you hear about it, but you've never visually seen it. And the need for more firefighters, whether it's volunteer or career, it is horrible right now. We have gotten worse countywide. And if it's not somebody out there wanting to be a volunteer fireman, it takes about a year to get your training. And I've made the statement to Mr. Sanders that this county is 30 to 40 firefighters behind right now. 30 to 40. How do you make that up? And I'm not standing up here pounding my chest that we need to hire people and hire people and hire people, but we have to do something. We have to work together as a community to come up with a solution, or this could have had a different ending, a horrible ending. It's already bad enough. So what we have done with this house, the State Farmers that are doing their follow-up investigation, we have approached the family, and after all the investigations are done and the house is turned back over to the residents, we are going to invite council, and we're going to invite the county commission to meet us over there, and I want that initial crew to explain to you what they went through. So maybe you can get a visual and understand the first 5-10 minutes of any major incident like that is the most important. It isn't what's happening 25 minutes down the road. It's that first 5 minutes. If you're going to save a life, that first 5 or 10 minutes is crucial. And it's crucial to have enough people there and enough well-trained people there. So,
just to give you an update, just to give you a visual, I live right behind it, okay? I was in my kitchen at 6:35. I saw nothing. I got a drink of water, looked out my back window, I saw nothing. 6:50, when I hear sirens, I pulled the scanner app on my phone, went into the kitchen, I rounded the corner from my living room into my dining room, and my kitchen's glowing red. Okay? That fire was almost 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And when I went to my kitchen window, fire was blowing out of every window in that house. That's 15 minutes. That just goes to show you how quickly so when he's talking about the first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, that's major.
Yeah. Also in your packet is a written statement from Captain Baxa on the narrative of what happened. And I would hope you all can read this, but I'm going to go towards the end of it where Captain Baxa makes a few statements. I have to put my reading glasses on now. So, his statement, of course, says this was a complete group effort. The hope of her having some sort of recovery and living as possible through the actions of every individual who was there. Okay? That first 10 minutes, until we got her out of that house was very, very high risk. I want to make the statement that Joey Baxa would have given his life for her. And everybody there would have. So, our training expectations are above the minimum required by the state. Our members are driven to do more, better. I don't think this community realizes what they have here as a fire department. Not only this call, but the next night we were on a very bad situation, and we are really working on trying to get some peer support for our firefighters. I don't think everybody understands what our paramedics and EMTs go through, whether it be our people or the EMS or law enforcement. Law enforcement deals with it too. And I'm working diligently right now to create a peer support system that has a way of talking to our people after these incidents, because PTSD is very bad in the fire service right now. Horrible. We all have it. You have a cup and it gets full when it overflows. It's just how you tend to it when it overflows. So we're working on that. Joey goes on to, at the bottom there, the staffing was not normal for us. A 4-person engine would have typically been on my shift, or he would have only had 2 on his shift, because we're down a firefighter right now. So Joey is working with a 2-person shift right now. Like I said, we upstaffed because I wasn't there. I was on vacation. I came back the night before, and of course that was a Sunday. So anytime I'm not at the firehouse and Joey's shift was 2, we hire back and on overtime to create that 3rd position. And that was something I decided, because if I'm there as a support of the 3rd person. But that 4th person made a huge difference. Please read this. And when we get access to that house, there'll be an invite. And I want you to, there's a per our accreditation post-incident analysis. So we do these for every fire, every car wreck with entrapment or rescue, or any cardiac arrest call. And basically it's kind of like taking the information from the hot wash, putting it on paper, and it creates how you figure out trends if something's going wrong or something's going right, so you can fix or continue to do what you're doing. So that being said, keep everybody in your prayers. Joey's off till the 14th. John's hand's healing, but they did one hell of a job. That's all I got to say.
I have a question. The situation with Joey, is there such a thing as a portable oxygen that they can carry in with them when they know there's a person
Oxygen
in
is
there?
flammable. I mean, you're talking when they entered that house, it was in excess of 600 or 700 degrees. So Joey removed his. What we use are the self-contained breathing apparatus.
Right.
We wear those. That is breathing air. That is not oxygen. So don't be confused about that. That's just like we're breathing here, 21% oxygen. Not until you get them out of that atmosphere, no. So Joey, what had happened was that house somehow got energized. And I've seen specific parts of houses be energized from electric, but not a whole house. So when they came out on the porch, we threw a ground ladder to the porch to go up to access them, to help them come down the ladder. That house, when you touch the ladder, it would give you a full shock. So we had the arrow up, we brought it around to get them off. Well, as soon as you reach from the house to touch the arrow, they get shocked. So that being said, it was pretty violent shocks. So Joey removed his face piece, put it on the victim, and went back through what he just came up through. So.
When will the fire marshal, JB, give the report?
The fire marshal has been there. I have not got a complete report from them, and probably basically we'll be waiting on a complete report from the insurance company, because we'll get some sort of a report from the state fire marshal probably pretty soon, but the report to really clarify what caused it will probably come from the insurance.
Yeah. Well, it almost sounds like there was an accelerant too.
So I can't answer that.
I understand.
There was a lot of stuff on the porch, and there was a lot of stuff around. And this time of year everybody has Christmas decorations and other types of stuff. So I can't elaborate on that.
I understand.
But
you'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out.
Yeah.
As soon as we have access to the house, I'll set a date and we'll go over and let everybody look at it. So.
And you said there was a second incident. Was that the Valley Green incident?
Yes, sir.
Referring to?
Yes, sir.
And you'll find out more about that at some point in time?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Well, I would just like to say, too, to everyone that it is Christmas time, and we're overloading some circuits from time to time with our Christmas decorations and our Christmas lights. None of us are, most homeowners aren't electricians, and we tend to push probably our circuits to the limit. That's number one. Yeah. There's a lot of older homes in this community. I've been involved in remodels, and I've seen floorboards pulled up, and I've been shocked at the type of wiring that's in some of the older homes and so forth. And again, something to be said, well, I can't afford an upgrade, I can't afford this, but ladies and gentlemen out there in our community, anything you can do to make your home safer, to keep the men and women of the fire department away from your home, please do it. Pay attention to the circuitry you're using. Don't pick one outlet in your house and put 5 strips on it and plug everything into that. Just try to be careful. Again, we're not electricians living in our homes, well, I know that, but respect the electrical circuits. They're more dangerous than we realize. So.
There is no reason not to have a smoke detector in your house.
Right.
We have them at the firehouse. The only stipulation is that we have to install them. And I know over the past 5 years, the Buckhannon Fire Department has given out between 350 and 400 smoke detectors. But we do have them in stock. there's no reason for anybody to not have one in their house. If you live in Buckhannon Fire District, call us. We have to install it. That's the only stipulation. So
you want to install them?
yes, that's part of the program. They have to be installed. It's terrible to say, Dave, but in the past we'd given away smoke detectors, and they were returned to the local stores and cashed in.
Really?
Yes. So we install them, and nothing is other than the smoke detector remains with the occupant. So yes.
Well, thank you for your service. And
Don't thank me. Thank those crews down there. I'm just their guide, and they're top notch. I put our crew up against anybody, and we have a gym of a fire department, and with instructors and people that are progressive and positive. And I would really like to see our other community fire departments take advantage of that, because we have a lot of training opportunities, and I really would like to see other departments venture down here more to do some training. So
I would encourage all council members and city administration and county commissioners to attend the Christmas dinner next week. It's a good opportunity to go down there and just have a good evening with the fire department. And I know firsthand that they appreciate having us there in the facility. Just
the mayor brings lasagna.
Now you're gonna make me make a whole nother. I'm already up to 3.
Make some chocolate chip cookies.
I know.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He brings lasagna, and Bobby Long brings this peanut butter food that diabetics shouldn't be eating, but I do.
Not just any lasagna. Buffalo chicken.
Buffalo chicken lasagna. So,
JB, one of the observations you made, which concerns me, you said it's generational. Can people hear me? Is the downturn in volunteerism.
yes, sir.
And I've been on the council for quite a few years, and we've seen that happen, Pam. Remember? We talked about it quite a bit. And I think we live in a meism society.
Yes, sir.
And I think somehow the public education system needs to figure out some way to instill people to be volunteers.
Yeah.
I don't think that's addressed at all in our public schools. And it's something that I think we need to really take strong action to get our, and I'm not just talking about Upshur County, I'm talking about as a national tendency to have meism today, unfortunately. If we don't change, we're going to be in trouble long term.
Mr. Thomas, I was talking to Mr. Sanders yesterday about the same thing, and I'll be meeting with one of the sporting groups for the high school here shortly, and they're coming down to the firehouse, and we're going to talk about, providing help to your community, whether it be the church or whether it be the Lions Club or the fire department. And one of the biggest questions I have for today's youth is, when you see the kindergarten kids and the first grade kids come to the firehouse, every one of them want to be a firefighter. Every one of them want to be a firefighter or a police officer. What happens between that age of 5 and 18? Where do they go, and what changes? What gap do we need to fill in to keep that interest flowing? And something I found out too, which makes it difficult. The majority of students that graduate from our high school do not stay here. I had the marketing class from the high school last year, and there was only 2 students out of 28 that were remaining in Buckhannon. One of them was going to Wesleyan, and the other one was going to work for his parents, and neither one of those wanted to be firefighters. So, you're looking at a small percentage of the students coming out of high school, but if we could train them to be firefighters and they went to somewhere else and wanted to join the fire department there, that would be a positive for their community. But it's difficult right now. It's difficult to hire people right now, let alone get people to volunteer the rest of their lives.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you for what you do. And
Don't thank me.
I'm thanking you and the whole department.
The whole department, that group down there is wonderful. Stop by and see them, have a cup of coffee. So,
JB, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. It's been 4.5 days since this incident. There's so many things in the world the government can't buy its way out of.
sure.
But what is the magic number? If you say we're 40 firefighters down throughout the county, if Buckhannon were to add 4, 5, 6 new firefighters, would that have made a difference if you had that extra person on a shift? I'm just trying to walk through this where we're headed, and we get into other issues. How do we pay for it?
I think
we got to talk first dip.
It has to be a group effort, and if we can't create a group effort, then we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And if that group effort, I can tell you right now with the data I have at the firehouse from last year at the Fire Association, 74% of calls outside of Buckhannon's district are answered with 2 or less people. That's scary. In today's world, nobody should be going to an incident by themselves. Period. I mean, that's just not acceptable. It's just like sending a police officer to a domestic by himself or herself. It's just not acceptable. The smaller fire departments are suffering just like we are. We just have a lot more incidents and a lot more big incidents. They deal with smaller houses and smaller calls than we do, and a less volume. We'll be at 1,300 calls this year. That's huge. So it's, and I don't know what that magic can be unless we can get everybody to collaborate together and come up with solutions for our whole community. Because whether you live in the city of Buckhannon or you live in Rock Cave, you're important to us all. And right now the Buckhannon Fire Department is sending manpower to all over the county, all over Barber County and Randolph County and sometimes Lewis County. But we also are receiving aid from those same departments because they're in the same position as we are. But my concern is if we're having to wait 25, 30 minutes to get the proper people on a scene, proper amount of people on a scene to mitigate a situation, that makes it difficult.
And again, this was a single family residence.
Yes.
Imagine at the high rise or Agnes Howard Hall or...
I was on an Agnes Howard Hall fire a couple years ago with 4 people.
Yeah.
And, it was on the 3rd floor, very difficult. It was in the old, they were renovating where the elevator shaft used to be, and it was horrible. And, point blank, you work your guts out.
Yeah.
And like I explained about the mayor, if you hear us going down the street and you see, come see what happens. Some of us, it's teamwork. And if the people in our organization weren't as well trained as they are, that would have a whole different situation. Firefighters take an oath, and they lived by the other night, or other morning, I'm sorry. I have something in strategic. I didn't know if you want.
Yeah, we can go ahead and take it up. That's fine. That would be
I've been up here.
F2.
F2. That. Oh, go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry. Yeah, move that up.
Is it all right with council if we bring F2 to the table while Chief is up on the podium?
Motion, so moved, if that's what you want.
Okay, motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, F2 is on the table. This is to approve, to accept the bid opening results for Fire Department Life Pack 15 heart monitor.
So we received 1 bid, which that's what I figured would happen. So when we did the budgets last year, the Life Pack 15 was about $22,000, but of course because of COVID and everything else, they went up over $30,000, up to $30,000. So we had to bid this process out and realized that there was a way you could lease it. That way they maintain it, take care of it. If it breaks, they bring you another one. And that's a 5-year lease with a $1 buyout at the end. And I don't have it in front of me. I think it was like $7,300 a year for 5 years. So Amy and I spoke, and that's probably a better situation because there's a maintenance plan with that, and they take care of that. So
That includes the maintenance plan?
yes. And we're replacing a Light Pack 12, which actually went out of date probably about 10 years ago, but that's what we could afford at the time. So
it'll be $36,500 plus $1 if you buy it out.
yeah. After 5 years. Or you can get another one. So.
I'll make a motion, we purchase the Light Pack one.
All right, we've heard a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, is there any further discussion?
Amby, is it in the budget? Do we have resources?
Yeah, I had put $20,000 in my capital outlay to buy one. Well, since it's only $7,300, we'll be if it.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the bid and approving the payment amount, please signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So mine says, please.
All
Will
right.
do, Chief.
Thank you, Julie. Take care of it.
Okay, City Attorney Tom O'Neill has a report for us this evening.
I just follow up, Mayor, members of council, on what Amby had begun to discuss earlier with respect to Stockard financing. A week ago, it was a week ago, maybe two.
Yeah.
At this point, we had we met here with both myself, the recorder, mayor, and Amby met with Mr. Tom Amon with the firm of Steptoe & Johnson to discuss engaging that firm as bond counsel. Technically, it will be the building commission that engages Steptoe & Johnson as bond counsel. They will be the issuer of the bonds. And this will proceed, this is intended to proceed much like the financing for the new facility on Ludlick Road. It'll kind of take a similar path to that. Except with this one, we're going to pursue a dual track of trying to also fund this through USDA, and the firm Steptoe will be involved whichever kind of path we choose. But we're going to plant both seeds and see which one sprouts. So at your next meeting, whether it's next regularly scheduled meeting in 2 weeks, or if there's a need to have a special meeting before then, you'll have two things before you. One will be approval of the engagement letter with Steptoe & Johnson. Obviously, it's more directly going to be an engagement with the building commission, but we want the council to approve it as well because council is ultimately responsible. So we're going to just do this both ways. You have on your agenda tonight appointment of new members to the city's building commission. That will, assuming that takes place as intended, that building commission will need to have a meeting soon. I would say within the next week, hopefully. That's a noticed agenda public meeting as well, where they will consider the engagement of Steptoe & Johnson as bond counsel. Their fees will be paid out of closing as part of the transaction. And you will also have before you, the other thing that you'll have before you next time is what's called a reimbursement resolution. That will enable the city to be reimbursed for any expenses it may incur between now and when the bonds close at some point during first quarter. I assume it'll be during the first quarter of next year. Once federal Treasury regulations require the adoption of this reimbursement resolution. We didn't get that in time from the attorneys drafting it. Steptoe drafted that for us as well. We didn't get that in time for it to be on the agenda for tonight's meeting. So that'll be on, that's not a particularly time-sensitive issue. But you'll have those items before you. The engagement letter is for $4 million worth of financing. That is that's an anticipation to try to plan for how construction bids may come in. We wanted to try to reasonably ensure that we would have enough financing to cover a reasonable bid range. That if that needs to be adjusted, that can be adjusted, but we'll see. Before we can, we're going to be putting out an RFP as part of the non-USDA portion of the funding alternatives. We're going to be putting out an RFP, and that'll be done here within the next week or so to seek quotes from local lenders, just in case, just to see, again, just to see which path is going to be the more fruitful one. We're going to proceed down this dual track and then choose one at an appropriate time. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for City Attorney Tom O'Neill at this time?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, folks, correspondence and information. We've got FOIA request from Rebecca McCoy relative to a zoning board of appeals decision and documents at 7 College Avenue. We have a FOIA request from Partner Engineering and Science Incorporated, about 3 Northridge Road. We've got notice and bid opening results for professional surveying services for elevation certificates, FEMA generator grant number 35. Randy slipped this in. So West Virginia Executive Magazine, I was honored to receive a Young Gun Award from them a couple weeks ago. So Randy slipped that in, and I didn't catch it whenever I was putting the agenda together. I looked at the strategic issues, and I didn't look at that. I probably wouldn't have had that included. So, but thank you, Randy. And so then finally, Charles Gibson, Library Director's Report. Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to say about it, or? No. Okay. That's for August through November 2022. Under the consent agenda, we've got the approval of the regular meeting minutes for 11/3. We do not have 17 or 20. I already scribbled through it. 28. Yeah, I already scribbled through it, so it was either a 3 or an 8. I wasn't sure. Approval of building and wiring permits and the approval of the payment of bills. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay. Under strategic issues for discussion and or vote, F1 is approval of outside entity funding request, and it is from Burma. Jerry, is there anything you'd like to say or give us any background on it before we?
This funding request, take your phone. Oh, I thought it was required to have a sign, so I didn't have a sign tonight. I am Jerry, friend of the Grinch and Santa. On December the 10th, from 5 until 9, we are having this event down at the Baxa Hotel on Spring Street. The street will be closed from Main Street to Senior Drive. As I heard about the result of not having too many volunteers, we were blessed this year in having more than we needed volunteers. We have actively working about 50 volunteers on the event. We would not have submitted this request for funding if the prices had not gone up pretty much severely in the last few months. And we did have one of the units, one of the houses that happened to be Betty Who's house, I believe, went down in a windstorm the other night. So we have to replace that. We also have more children coming than we expected from what we're getting in the number of phone calls. So we really would like to see that we don't turn any child away without the same full little stocking that everybody else is going to get. So we currently have made handmade stockings for 255 children. We think we will have our stockings all done, the total 300 the end of this week. We have over 100 Christmas trees that will be erected in Whoville. Those are all decorated in different themes for the children. We also have some vendors. We also have an outdoor theater that they can see part of the Grinch activity. So it is a multifaceted event, but I hear that there's many things going on in Buckhannon, and I'm not upset by that. I'm thrilled by it. Any time that a community can successfully have 1 or 2 or 3 activities going on in the same weekend, that's an active community. So I will answer any questions that you have about it. I would also like to make one comment about the fire service, only because my sister resides in Steen, Mississippi. If you watched the news over the weekend, Steen, Mississippi was hit by a tornado. I got a hold of my sister before and after she was in her storm shelter. She is 82 years old. She's going to be thrilled. I said that on TV, but while she was in this storm shelter, she was worried about herself and her pups. She has 2 dogs. When she came out of that, one of her first thoughts was, because she got a phone call saying that their local fire department had been totally destroyed. My sister at 82 years old was worried about how they were going to fund their fire department. That is the only fire department they have in their outlying area. I will also tell you that even though they had to bring in a crane to take off some of the steel beams, their main fire truck was totally destroyed. The other fire truck was severely damaged. But as soon as the siren went off that the storm had moved through, those men jumped in their pickup trucks. Many of them loaded in the back of the trucks while the other drove, and they went house to house to house, taking people that were trapped inside, taking them out. So it's not only fires that these men face every day. And when he said that Joey would have given up his life that night to save that woman, they give up their right to life every time they jump on that fire truck. They don't know they're coming home. They don't just go to fires. They go to tornadoes. They go to the fire accident, to the car accidents. If you haven't been on a severe car accident, you carry the look of what those victims were for the rest of your life. These are young men that are giving to our community something we could never give to ourselves. So anything I can do to convince you that we are terribly understaffed in that department, I don't ever want to see a fire truck go out with just 2 men on it, because those 2 men may not come out the next time. So I will answer any of your questions, but I'm sorry, I just had to mention that because I know that my sister would want you to know her fire department.
Well put, Jerry.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Amby, I don't think that the request made the packet. Did you find it?
I don't know. I don't think it made the packet either, because we were still gathering information.
Right.
I think there was a thought we'd have another revenue review meeting, and then we did confirm some of the information we needed through the Secretary of State's office. So I think that may be why it didn't make it to the packet.
For the council's consideration, I believe the amount of $700 from the city to the Buckhannon Upshur Retail Merchants Association.
Yeah.
What is your total budget for the event?
$5,000.
$5,000.
Max that out.
So you maxed out 4,300, so you're looking for 700.
No, we maxed out 5,000.
Maxed out 5,000.
We're looking for enough to bring the other things in for the children that we're expecting.
I think that's admirable. I mean, that you've put your money on the table already and taken it as far as it can go. And I appreciate your working on that form. I know it's a little bit of a monster, probably, when you first got that financial request form that we developed. But I think it's something that allows the city to be better managed in the funds that we do disperse out to the groups and so forth. And I think the public will rest a little easier knowing that we do our due diligence in looking at all of those. So,
Jerry, if somebody wants to give a check, who do they make it payable to?
They make it payable to Burma.
Okay.
now on that, I'll make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention the Revenue Review Committee did meet And the recommendation was to fund the $700. That's a reimbursable thing, Jerry, so I just need some, they approve
Second
it.
motion that you're about to make.
Pam,
You gonna second
you're
it?
part of Burma, aren't you, Pam?
Yes.
I would recuse yourself.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to make a
I'm going
motion.
to represent the
I'll
city.
second it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the $700 financial request, and I believe Mr. Thomas has made a second of that motion.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want somebody to give Pam any grief, that's all.
All right.
Technically, the city's a member of Burma as well.
Right,
so-
that's why
yeah,
I'm representing when
I
I go.
understand that.
Okay, just like remember the Chamber of Commerce. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. All right, F3. I know that we've done a lot of these, and I did ask Teresa and Jay this week at Monday as I was getting ready to put this agenda together. So we have signed off on agreements with Bethesda relative to the Stockard Youth and Community Center, but this is specifically for the engineering and design services between the City of Buckhannon and Bethesda and Associates. And if you'll recall, Bethesda and Associates retains the Mills Group as the architect, which becomes our architect. So we just have to memorialize and finalize the agreements so that we can move forward with Bethesda and ultimately the Mills Group as our engineering and design firm. So I'd ask for you to, it's all in your packet, it's very lengthy. Jay has reviewed it all, I've reviewed some with him, so I would ask that you
So move.
motion so we can get that approved.
So move.
Any discussion?
374,000, is that a correct amount? I think that's what I saw.
Yeah.
$4 million project.
Yeah.
It's about what things run.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So there was a motion by Randy and a second by Pam, is that right? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion approved. All right, F4. As this has been referenced a few times this evening, we have to establish our municipal building commission. That commission, we haven't had it meet in a couple of years, and so everybody that was on there was over their expiration date on their time. So I'm asking for you to approve a building commission, and just for council's background and information, the building commission, you cannot serve on any other board or committee that the city has. You can only be on the building commission, and it is political party sensitive, so you have to have an equal number of Republicans and Democrats, and independents can be put in the mix as well. So I would ask that you approve Jane Godwin, Danny Williams, Justin Dines, Erica Bird, and Kelly Queen as our building commission. And that building commission will need to take up next week to start our process with the Stockard Youth and Community Center building.
And Robbie, we've satisfied ourselves at 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats.
Yep, there are two Republicans, 1 independent, and 2 Democrats.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Like sign opposed?
Did he second before Thomas?
I'd give it to Thomas.
Okay.
I was quick on the draw.
All right.
I'm the old gun.
That's right. Don't forget it.
Did we do the all those in favor? All,
We
okay,
did.
we're good. Okay. Next, AMBI needs a appointment of the audit committee for fiscal year 22-23. This is pretty much a standing. It has to be appointed every time, but we pretty much keep the same folks on the audit committee. They've done a good job for us the last however many years. So that committee is, I would suggest AMBI Jenkins, Nancy Shove, and Dave Thomas. Is there any issue with that?
Well, it's not the audit committee that does a good job, it's the AMBI.
Well, I know that too, and I already told her that when we were talking about it today.
Just want to say that.
I'd make a motion to that effect.
Okay. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed? Motion carried.
I recuse myself.
Okay. So, okay, F6. I really would like to have an extremely, extremely brief executive session real fast. Like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Could we do? Well, yeah. Could maybe us just go over into the middle real quick? I'd entertain a motion that we adjourn into a brief executive session for property matters. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait. Sorry, we're like yelling at you guys. Okay.
Too bad.
Is that Katie?
Yes. Sorry, hey Dave.
How you doing?
I'm good. I got here right before the prayer. But I'm here.
I figured.
That's how I always come in, right?
You're gonna be fine.
Right into the prayer. It's a good Catholic.
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Is the media ready? Can we proceed? Okay. All right. So I entertain a motion that we return to general open session. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Like, sign opposed? Aye. We'll count that as a yay. Okay. Let the minutes reflect. We are back in regular session. Let the minutes reflect that we had an executive session briefly about a property matter that is listed on the agenda because there was an update or a development that we needed to discuss, and because of that development, I would like to ask for just a general consensus of council that we table the matter for this evening and bring it up at a meeting in January. Well, let's just go ahead and do that since we'll formalize it. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Mr. Thomas. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like, sign opposed. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Okay, F7, we have Mr. O'Neill back. He is prepared to discuss with us some developments or updates relative to the discussion of enforcement of parking that we had a couple of a month or so ago.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the council may recall that we had before it a draft ordinance regarding means of enforcement of our city's parking ordinances and the addition of an ordinance to our code of ordinances regarding the use of parking boots. During that time, it became clear that this situation really implicates the police department and that we really should have a conversation with the leadership of the police department before we proceeded with that ordinance as it was then drafted. We held that meeting. Various city stakeholders were involved in that, and the resolution that was reached at that meeting was to propose to the council that we take a simpler approach, and that instead of an all-new ordinance that would create a process by which the use of parking boots and towing would then be authorized, that we just amend our existing parking ordinances to mirror state code. There's in part of our discussion that day with Chief Gregory and Lieutenant Loudon, we spent some time in the code, and we found language in the code that got us close to where we needed to be authorized to do what we want to do here, but it didn't quite get us there. So the draft ordinance that you have in your packet today for you to consider, and which, barring direction otherwise, will appear for first reading at the next meeting of council, it's a much simpler approach, and that is that it simply characterizes itself as an amendment of our existing parking ordinances to use quote-unquote towing or other means, including the use of a vehicle immobilization device, to enforce our parking ordinances. That wasn't clearly the case before. State code authorizes municipalities to use parking boots in certain and towing in certain circumstances, but we just didn't feel that the way the code was drafted, it dealt with our kind of parking recalcitrant parking violators situation. So this is a much simpler approach. All it does is authorize the use of these means as an enforcement mechanism, that the existing process and procedures that already appear in our other parking ordinances will remain unchanged and in effect, and that this just adds one more tool to the toolbox that the parking enforcement officer and the city police can use to deal with the very, very few true problem cases that we have. There was one, without naming names, there was one individual that we discussed at that meeting who had over $1,000 worth of unpaid parking tickets that this person would just just thumbed her nose at the whole process, that she'd ignore summonses and ignore municipal court orders, and then turns out she's left town and moved elsewhere. So the city just is never going to see, the money from those violations. This would give a little more teeth to the true problem cases. And I would encourage members of council to consider this draft and forward any comments to me, and this will be for your consideration, again, unless we're directed otherwise. This will be on the agenda for first reading at the next meeting.
Tom, quick question for you. I'm looking under Article 1, the very last sentence.
Yep.
You've got towing or impoundment fees. Might it be appropriate to do towing, impoundment, booting, or other fees, maybe?
We discussed that at this meeting, and the feeling was that the purpose of booting is to facilitate towing, and that the boot is to keep the vehicle there until you can get it towed, and then the person has to pay their parking violations before it can be released. We put a hold on the vehicle when it's impounded, and then it has to be paid before it can get out. If we add a new fee for just the use of the boot, it would, first of all, it would require this to be a 3-reading ordinance instead of a 2-reading ordinance. It would require public hearing. It just makes it, the feeling was that complicates things.
So procedurally, so I'm clear, that there would not be, you don't boot a car and somebody comes down an hour later and pays their ticket and you unboot the car. Is that correct?
That could happen if somebody got there quick. If a violator got to the car before the tow truck did, then, and it was during regular business hours, sure, that could happen.
But the presumption is that booting is first a mechanism to remove the car by towing.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Again, this is a draft that Tom has prepared, and as he said, it would be forwarded for first reading at the next meeting. I would encourage any council members to, if you look it over and see something that you question or would like to see added or deleted, to work with Tom, and we can show any of those edits at the next meeting. But otherwise, it will be for first reading on the 15th meeting. That's right.
You don't need any action on this?
No. Nope. It's just for discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All right, folks, we are down to council comments and announcements, and I would like to start over here with Pam.
There is a piece of property, I can't remember the street, but it's near Danny Williams' home. The street that goes up.
Leonard.
Okay. There's a piece of property there. Are we involved in getting that taken down or doing anything about that property? It's terrible.
Oh, I'm sorry, you mean a house.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Tax sale.
That's one of our tax sale
It is?
properties.
Okay.
Which that process has been streamlined now thanks to the state auditor's office. It's not the long drawn out 18 months of, and then there's more time to let them pay it. It is I think it's less than 6 months now if we get ownership of the property for unpaid taxes. So that's a much. It's in the middle of the block between Leonard and.
Do you have an address?
It's on Ambrose Street.
I don't. I can't remember the number.
Okay, just so I can complete her comment.
So
in
the
a minute.
people that haven't owned that property, they no longer own that property? Or they're just not
Well, they haven't paid
doing
the
it, they're not
taxes, so
doing anything? They're just not doing
that's
anything.
why we can get it. If they haven't paid the taxes, that's how we can
The
get it.
property was purchased, the taxes were paid by the city last year, but we have to go through a process before we can take possession, because it's under the old way of doing it. And it takes about 18 months to get title to it if the taxes aren't
It's
redeemed.
been in bad shape for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to go in and fix it up.
We have asked the people who had title to board it up. We did that. We've cut down the front grass, so we've done minimal to it, but it's apparent, it looks like it's going to probably end up in the city's hands.
But people go in and out of it all the time. That's one of the issues we had.
It was, yes, but it's boarded up again now.
Amy, might they consider just deeding it to the city so that we don't need
That's been a conversation. There's a little, yes. We're actually, I mean, we're still actively working on it. We don't just wait. We communicate with those people. And that we've allowed them to go in and, well, it's their property, so they've gone in and got some of the personal items out recently.
Anything else, Bill?
That's it.
And as this is just one of the conversations that we have at different community meetings about absentee property ownership. It's hard to, but there's been a positive story. A house on the corner of Park Street and Chestnut Street that had fallen into severe disrepair is been purchased and being worked on, and so it's a historic property. So hopefully that comes back to life
I've
too.
been paying attention to that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
David.
Robbie, we've been kicking the can down the road since I was city attorney, going back to 2015 on this first due fee. I know if CJ was calling in tonight, he would be champing at the bit more loudly than me. But I'm all for anything we can do to make our community safer from a fire perspective, especially the members of our fire department. I just don't see how we can get around not looking at additional personnel, as you articulated earlier. So I know there's going to be a lot of things coming down the pike early in 2023, but I hope that will be on the front burner agenda-wise as you evolve to your conversations with the county commission. We need staffing. Other than that, I just want to say the Christmas decorations look fantastic in Buckhannon as always, and thanks to Streets and Parks for doing their typical good work.
Thanks, David. Jack?
I don't have anything. I just think that what Jody's doing, barbecue bash, and what Burma's doing with the Grinch Christmas activities with the Grinch, I just think they're to be commended. And I'm in agreement with my colleague that we need to start considering first due and try to find some means to support our firemen and to expand our services if we can to serve the community. And that includes just not Buckhannon, but the whole county. And I think that needs to be on the table. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Mr. Thomas?
I would just say to everybody, enjoy all the different activities over the next couple of weeks. And again, I want to thank the fire department for the phenomenal work that they do, and also our police officers. They have a very tough job. You all be safe.
Thanks, Dave. I would encourage all of us watching here on the bench as well as in the room, please continue to keep CJ in your thoughts and prayers. Yes, and I thank you, Jody. And I neglected to mention this in the beginning. We did lose Sheriff David Kaufman this week. Dave he was a recipient of a friend of our Blue Wall Wilbur Grubb Day this past spring, and it was a nice crowd down there for that. So please keep the Kaufman family, big family, well-known family here in the community, in your prayers as they mourn the loss of Sheriff Dave Kaufman. So thank you, Jody. I neglected to say that. Randy.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate too, I was going to mention that as well. Mike Kaufman and all the Kaufman family and our thoughts and prayers. Lost a great citizen there. Sent out a news release earlier today as well regarding the street closures for the upcoming holiday events. Just a reminder, Main Street will close tomorrow at 5 p.m. to prepare for the Christmas parade that is hosted by the Buckhannon Fire Department. And remember, that means all cars have to be removed from Main Street prior to that parade starting, so it'll close at 5 p.m. But it's got to be clear, the cars have to be off the street, and that is by city ordinance, where they could face being towed. And it's largely a safety issue. We've seen on the news what can happen if a vehicle moves during a parade, whether there's any intent or just somebody saying, oh, I just want to move my car around the block. So everything has to be off Main Street before the parade. Main Street will close again 1 p.m. on Saturday, December 3rd, for the West Virginia Dickens Christmas Festival and Fair, presented by Create Buckhannon. They'll have activities and a parade as well. That will end up in John Boone Park at about, 6:30, Mr. Mayor? You'll be lighting the big tree?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just before the ball.
And at the Opera House, and the mayor has some calluses on his hands from chopping that tree down, or working that chainsaw.
Yeah, working that
All right. So, and you have that flyer, right?
I do.
With the Dickens, yeah. So there's a lot going on. This is a first-year event. So kudos to the committees and Great Buckhannon again for hosting this event. Hope all of you listening will partake in one way or another. And then the following weekend, of course, we have Santa Meets Grinch and by Burma, which we discussed earlier today. So there's a lot going on. Just very quickly, I had some great news with on the Wansby front. We secured a band from India. So they have requested now the documentation so they can begin their visa process. And our plan is after January 1st, we're going to start rolling out the band's photos, bios of the band that we have secured to the media and to the public. So come January 1, that'll be exactly 2 years. January 1 will be 2 years to the day that we got the notification that we will be hosting the 2023 Wansby event. So beginning January 1 of 2023, it's going to be all out publicity, promotions, and updates of everything and all attractions to come. So stay tuned.
Boy, we must have been having fun because 2 years has flown by.
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Today at City Hall this morning, we entertained the Leadership Upshur class. We had 10 students here this morning, and I want to thank very much Randy Sanders, Chief J.B. Kimball, Chief Matt Gregory, Amby Jenkins, and Jerry Arnold for preparing remarks and presentations. We entertained them for 3 hours this morning, and then that we shipped them off to the county for the afternoon. So they had a good day diving into the intricacies of local government in Upshur County. I joined them for lunch today at Mama Roma's afterwards, and I will tell you they were quite impressed by all of the intricacies that the city of Buckhannon is and has, and all that we are involved in this community with our near 100 employees and our enterprise boards and general fund and all of the departments that we run. We really take care of life here with everything from water and sewage and trash to police and fire. We keep everything going, and it's not, say this all the time, but it's not what goes on here at this table. It's our employees out on the front lines, and we appreciate everybody that gives their all every day to make life in this community just better for all. So glad that Leadership Upshur is a success, and I want to thank Jennifer Bostian and Mike Ruffing for their leadership with that as well as the Buckhannon Upshur Chamber of Commerce. With respect to the fire department, it's tough. We run so close so many times to just the make it or break it, and we luck out some, and sometimes it runs a little too close for comfort. But when we brought on 3 additional firefighters, I know the first due conversation was tossed around, and ultimately we decided not to, and I know that a large part of that was because of me. I wasn't comfortable with it at the time. But I will tell the council I'm open to that discussion as we look at bringing on additional firefighters, because what we have right now as far as a total picture of firefighter response in our county is not working. And the city of Buckhannon is we have obviously the most firefighters because of our as far as Upshur County goes. So this is the large area, this is where the population is, it's where the highway is, it's where Westland is, corporations, the hospital, Main Street. We have the most equipment and the largest equipment, but all of that is not, it doesn't matter what equipment we have if we don't have the bodies to operate it. And so it's why I pinned the email on Sunday afternoon. And yeah, it might have been some emotion in there. I'll admit that. I did write that email out of emotion because, I was with Joey on Sunday morning in the hospital and evening in the hospital, and I've talked to him all week. And you all know I'm close with those guys. I'm the same age as those guys. I've known half of them all my life, and so yeah, it is personal. So we are not providing. This isn't a want. This is a need, and we have a phenomenal fire department, and I want to see us continue to help save their lives as they're saving other people's lives. So I support the discussion of the first due fire fee with our city extending into that district that we're required to cover by the state fire marshal. So as we start the new year, we're going to be having some very important discussions, and I sincerely hope that the council will support the effort to add staffing to our fire department. As and as Chief Kimball and I have talked so many times, adding staffing does not deter volunteerism. It actually relaxes the necessity that the volunteers feel. Sorry, we have volunteers that know they can't miss a call because we don't have the guys and the girls to respond if they don't come. Adding more staffing relaxes the necessity of having and relying on volunteers, and we need to always be recruiting volunteers. We need to still maintain and we need to make sure that our volunteers are taken care of. But we can't solely rely on them in today's world. It's just not feasible for the amount of call volume that we have to do that. So I want to thank the fire department for everything they do, and the police department. These are not easy times. Society has changed, and what you see today is just not what you saw 10, 15, 20 years ago. So with that, I hope everybody enjoys all of the activities we have this weekend. Christmas parade tomorrow night. Please pack the streets. It's always nice to have the Christmas parade downtown. The storefronts are looking so nice, and the Christmas decorations, and then the Dickens Festival on Saturday. So with that, Council, at 8:41, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. All right, guys, have a good weekend.